Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Supah Nerd-tendo on No Fucks Given Radio.
Select your player. Player 1, start.
You're serious, aren't you?
About what I do, yes. Not necessarily the way I do it.
The Thing. Is this dork made of orange rock like the rest of his body?
It's a different morality. Get used to it or go home.
As long as I'm not that person.
The evil one.
Well, nobody's perfect, but that's overstating it a little.
Comic book shit.
I find that answer vague and unconvincing.
Yeah, pretty obscure.
Don't you think that's plain damn weird?
Your hosts, Mistah DKB and Racer XX Cash of the Supah Smash Bros. And the Unknown Factor.
Did it work?
Supah Nerd-tendo.
Enough said.
Yeah, because check it out. We're live. No Fucks Given Radio. At least on the radio portion, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I'm saying? I am your host, The Unknown Factor. This is episode 4 of Supah Nerd-tendo. Yeah, I got Racer in the house. That's right. We've been live for a minute. We was trying to get live on the radio, but then I started broadcasting. It was like, fuck you. You can't use that much bandwidth. But I'm going to prove them wrong. I can use that much bandwidth. But while I figure that out, Racer, introduce our guest.
There ain't much to say. TKC Brennan is one of the pioneers of comic book writing, in my opinion. He's labeled the Alan Moore of the 70s. And TKC, maybe you'd like to tell him a little bit about yourself?
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, that was following Cerebus. I'm surprised you remember that. That's 10 years ago now. Following Cerebus number 6. It's a fan magazine about the underground comic Cerebus the Aardvark that I was kind of in on the ground floor in creating that character. Well, I created Dave Sims' first Aardvark. Nobody has heard of him. It's Dandy the Aardvark.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
At that point, he created Cerebus. I gave him his first artwork. He created Cerebus. So, in that fanzine, they called me the Alan Moore of the 70s. But see, the thing is that I don't think either Alan Moore or myself think that our work is similar, you know. So that's one problem with it. But nonetheless, yeah, it was certainly a compliment. And I've got a new comic out now that I'm working on. It's called Creeps.
About it.
It's a revival of Creepy from the 1970s.
Oh.
Very cool.
Oh, did we crash?
No. Casey, you're good. I'm here. Yeah, we're live.
Okay.
We're live.
Okay.
We just ain't on Facebook yet. I'm working on the Facebook process while I'm sitting here listening to your stories. And can I just say real quick, thank you for stopping by the No Fucks Given Our Man, Supah Nerd-tendo. That's dope shit. But yeah, no, we're live, man. We're good. Okay,
cool. So the company that I'm working for right now, the title I'm working for right now, it's called Creeps. It's Creeps instead of creepy, ends with S instead of Y. The logo is the same as Creepy magazine from the 70s. And I'm in, let me see, it's numbers 5, 7, and 10, the newest one. The 10th issue is just come out. It's just a couple years old. And it's at Barnes & Noble, and it's at most comic book stores should have it because Diamond distributors have it. And the 3 issues that I'm in so far, 5, 7, and 10, they all have my name on the cover. And it's all stories similar to the comics that I did for Creepy, Eerie, and Vampirella in the 70s. They went out of business, court-ordered bankruptcy in, I think, 83. 82 or 83. I'm far too wheezy to do a radio interview, but that's all. Sorry, gang.
Oh, you're all right, man.
It's all right. It's all good.
But yeah, that's my. And if you Google, I know I did the Vampirella series in the 70s. I really have for a few issues, and the stories that I did, even though there were only a few of them, seemed to draw a lot of reviews and the like. So the latest one on that, actually there's several people, including the official Dark Shadows College Sport Historical Society. Did we crash again?
No, I think that was actually, is that DKB? DKB? Yeah, that's that Mistah DKB.
I heard a thumb, and I thought, that's what I heard the last time we crashed. Well, anyway, yeah, I wrote a story in 1972 for Vampirella, and I stole the Dark Shadows characters. And I'm getting a lot of credit for that now, and there's some articles being written about that. I was working hand in glove with the artist in Spain. It was Jose Gonzalez, and I wanted him to do my version of Lucy from the Dracula novel. I wanted him to do her like Laura Parker, like Angelique from the Dark Shadows television show. So, and I wanted my Dracula to be like Barnabas Collins. I wanted my Vampirella in her secret identity to be like Josette Dupré. You're familiar with those characters from the show. So, that was 72. I don't know if the Dark Shadows people would have liked it if they'd known that I was doing it at the time, but it's 45 years later, and they all like it now, so there's some stuff about that you can read on the net, too.
Very cool, very cool.
Jose
Gonzalez is the definition of Vampirella when I read Vampirella, so what was it like to work with him? I've always been a big fan of his.
Who was that?
Jose Gonzalez. I've always been a big fan of his.
Jose Gonzalez, yeah. Yeah, well, see, that's the other thing. They're doing a web series about his life now, and I've been contacted by those people, and I'm doing some commentaries about my Vampirella work with him also, and that will be in the web series. And that's how I'm sorry about this week.
No worries.
I'm really sickly today, but that's all we can do. I mean, I'll do the best I can. But yeah, anyway, that's how it came out, and we started releasing stories about the Vampirella the secret Dark Shadows Vampirella crossover, we're calling it. And it was originally in Vampirella magazine, the black and white magazine, numbers 19 and 20, and they cut it in half. And it was called Shadow of Dracula. They cut it in half and ran it in 2 issues instead of 1. But in 1996, they reprinted it as Vampirella of Dracula number 3. And it was in color, but you could get the whole thing, both parts of it together in that issue. So, and plus it's on YouTube too. Somebody scanned actually 2 of my Vampirella stories.
Very cool. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people doing that recently.
They scanned my comics like page by page and added music, and but I mean, I tell people how to get them, but God, how to write reading off a YouTube address is just impossible. But yeah, if you look for Vampirellas 18 and 19 on YouTube, if you search YouTube for it, you get the 2 of the Vampirellas I wrote, matched with music, and they're both in the thousands of hits. And I think there's some comments and about my work there too. So that's available too on YouTube. Plus my band stuff. So in all your technological problems, did you get to play some of my songs?
Oh, well, we haven't got to those yet. We'll at least play some of them a little bit later. I was actually hoping to live stream them, some of them on the Facebook, but it seems that the program I was using for that has taken a shit on me, ladies and gentlemen, so I apologize for anyone that was looking forward to that. But yeah, I'm the only way I think I could honestly resolve that right now is to restart the computer, which would kind of interrupt the interview, ladies and gentlemen. What are you going to do?
Yeah, we were talking about that when things crashed initially, weren't we? Yeah, there's certainly some pitfalls. Yeah, there's some pitfalls in doing these phone interviews. And there's another app in addition to Skype called Zoom, and I downloaded that, and I did this interview in Europe with Angela Power months ago. And but yeah, there are a number of steps involved in doing something like this and doing it properly.
Oh yeah, and that's it wouldn't be an issue in all honesty, Casey. But like I said, we just added video yesterday. I didn't have this problem, ladies and gentlemen, with the video yesterday. I don't know what the issue is. I honestly think I should have restarted my computer right before we started this process. I probably wouldn't have that issue. I do know that I'm drawing a lot of bandwidth because, like I said, I'm broadcasting over a server for the radio, and then I'm also was trying to broadcast from Facebook. Yeah, Well, it started the second I started broadcasting, so I think but it's fine. It don't matter. Well, you know, regardless, you know, you can still go to NoFucksGivenRadio.com, check out this shit right now. Hopefully some point during the middle of the interview we'll be able to get it to where I'm fucking, you know, yeah, it got video and shit. Yeah. But TKC, I mean, you were going into the fact that you combined those characters. I'm curious, what, like, I mean, you said you just kind of wanted to. Why?
Well, the thing is that we're talking, see, the Vampirella that was originally published came out in 1972, and I had been watching Dark Shadows on television at that time since the late 60s. In fact, I think the first Dark Shadows that I ever watched, I was up in the Upper Peninsula, and I was working at a place called Dowd's Resort in Brevard on US 2. If anyone's familiar with Michigan, it's in a rather remote tourist area. It was in 1967, and so I'm working there. It's a gas station and resort. And I'm starting on my comic. My first comic books were published in 1969, as I recall. One of the issues of Eerie. I don't even remember the number, but anyway, 67. I watched Dark Shadows, and it was certainly the same genre. You know, it was horror, but it was moody and romantic and philosophical and so on. And that I liked. And the other thing, I don't know if you're familiar with the show and its characters, but there was a character on the show called Angelique, and it was played by Lara Parker. And I want to give credit, you know, because I'm a writer, I want to give credit to the writers here also. I don't want to say, yeah, this is the greatness of that character. Angelique was totally because of Lara Parker. I mean, obviously that's a great part of it, but the writers did great, you know, with this character. And it was the Dark Shadows characters. They would sometimes they were vampires, werewolves, witches, whatever they felt like. Angelique was usually either a witch or a vampire, and sometimes she was good, and sometimes she was bad. And Barnabas Collins was a vampire always, but sometimes he was good and sometimes he was bad. But I was very taken with the whole Dark Shadows concept. Another thing, oh my God, in the late 60s, early 70s, every girl I knew idolized Angelique, Lara Parker. I mean, this girl, the blonde witch, Dark Shadows. I mean, every girl in America that was cool at all thought she was a witch. Late 60s, early 70s, I mean, yeah, obviously they decided, yeah, we're all witches. And they all love Angelique. So I figured, yeah, I'm going to swipe her, and I'm going to put her in the Vampirella series that I was writing at the time. Now, I also thought I was doing something radical. The Underground Comics, they had, I forget the guy's name. I would think about it, but I mean, I'm not a spokesman for them, so I hate to dwell on this. But somebody in the Underground Comics tried to steal Mickey Mouse. And they brought out a couple of issues, Mickey Mouse and the Air Pirates, stuff like that. Basically, it was just like a standard Mickey Mouse comic of the 50s, but with sex added, a little sex added. And otherwise, they used, I had the copies, they used some of the Mickey Mouse villains and everything. And their position, of course, was that because of time or something or other, that Mickey Mouse was now public domain, and they were wrong. So they got sued and everything else with that. And
yeah, look, T. Casey,
so
that's one character. Yeah, but you know, that's one character that will never be fucking public domain. They'll make sure of that.
Yeah, I think as long as there's as long as world capitalism exists, yeah, the Mickey Mouse will be owned by Walt.
Exactly.
And the same thing with Superman. The same thing with Superman and AOL Time Warner. You know,
right.
There's been lawsuits, yeah, from the the descendants of the poor cripples the poor penniless cripples that created Superman and Superboy. Every so often they get up on their hind legs and try to, and they always fall flat on their face, the same as the guy that tried to steal Mickey Mouse. So, but I on the other hand did far better. I swiped the Dark Shadows characters, and then I didn't let anybody know for 45 years. And now, of course, everybody is delighted.
That's the way to do it, right?
Yeah. But see, the thing is that they did a Dark Shadows movie, and Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp.
Depp is great, but see, the thing is that he wasn't Jonathan Frid, and they didn't understand. The Dark Shadows movie was to the Dark Shadows TV show what the 1960s Batman TV series was to the comic book. They just didn't get it. They had the idea that because these things were for young people, that that because they were adults, they were supposed to laugh at it. And like a lot of adults get that idea that if this is something young people like, then we as adults are required to laugh at it, just to show how cool we are, how sophisticated or smart or older or something like that. And that really doesn't work out. The laugher usually ends up making a fool of himself in a case like that. And there's simply no question that the people that did the Batman TV show did not understand Batman. Now, I came to like the Batman TV show, and I knew some of the actors in it, you know. So and I adored Yvonne Craig. I mean, I still get a lump in my throat because I knew Yvonne Craig from the convention. So the thing is that, yeah, I have fond memories of that, but still, it was not the Batman character. The Batman character, you know, he money that went out to fight crime. It wasn't something funny. And they just did. Now, of course, they've gone the opposite way on it, and they've got, you know, the guy talks like this. Yeah, he's Batman.
Right,
yeah, there's nothing funny about it. He's hardcore bad, you know. So the thing is that they corrected all that, but they made the same mistake with Dark Shadows. They really did. And they just didn't get it that Dark Shadows was serious, it was romantic, it was dramatic, and people liked the fact that it was serious. And they took Angelique and they turned her into this. I used the phrase in a Facebook post, a vulgar, superpowered comedian. You know, so she was the complete the Angelique of the movie was the complete opposite of Angelique of the Dark Shadows show, and that character was just memorable. You know, I mean, I can't put my finger on. I know every girl that I knew, you know, imitated her, worshipped her. Every girl that I knew in that era, I mean, every girl that I knew lived her life to be exactly like Lara Parker, to look like her, to do everything, talk like her, philosophize like her, be a witch like her, you know. Oh my God! So yeah, I swiped her. I swiped Lara Parker, and I put her in Vampirella. And years later, I got up off the information, and now everyone loves it. So I guess I won't be sued or have to defect to Russia or any of those things. Yeah, I'm fine.
Limitations.
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
But if
like,
Putin wants me.
I wish I could get a hold of that, because what I was able to read of it just online was very interesting.
Oh, well, the thing is that you can get, unfortunately, as I say, they were, okay, the Warren people were messing with me at that time. They were trying to undermine me. And when they took my Dark Shadows takeoff, it was called Shadow of Dracula, cut it in two, and gave the second part an awkward title. It wasn't mine. It was called When Wakes the Dead, and this, you know, pseudo-Shakespearean nonsense that comic books would sometimes get into. So when they did that, they messed with the story a little. So Vampirella 19 really doesn't have my Lara Parker Angelique in it. Just the character. Have you read Dracula?
Oh.
It's been a while, but yeah.
Yeah, see,
Original
fucking
book.
a long time ago.
Okay, how do you say? I'm going to ask you. You're the disc jockey. You're the expert. You've got to know. How do you pronounce Lucy Westenra? Because the thing, I've never heard it pronounced. All I did was read the damn book. Westenra. Westenra. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it.
I'm going to ask the
However
comic
you're
book
supposed to
writer.
pronounce it. Yeah.
I'm going to ask the comic book writer.
Angelique.
Racer, how would you say you pronounce that, Racer?
Lucy Westenra, something like that.
Yeah. Works for me. Works for me.
It doesn't make really any... Nobody... I mean... she wasn't really a major character until I turned her into Angelique anyway. I mean, oh my God. All she did in the original book was get herself killed. I brought her back in the Shadow of Dracula, and this is, as I say, this is 45 years ago, and I recall that I was praised by a medical person at the time for doing it the way that I did, because I had to revive a dead person in my story, right? Lucy Westenra,
Hey,
TW.
T.
I had to
Casey.
revive her, yeah.
Real quick, man,
Yeah,
before
sure.
we get any more into this, I'll tell you what, can I get you gentlemen to hang out for a moment? I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to restart this computer, ladies and gentlemen, so we can get this shit up on Facebook Live, because I think it needs to be properly publicized. What do you think?
Okay, that sounds great. So what should I do? Should I just set down my girlfriend's iPhone and call you back in 5 minutes or something?
Hell no, man. Just hang out with Racer, and I'll be right back, gentlemen, all right? Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be back as quickly as possible, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get this shit back on and motherfucking popping and get it back on Facebook Live, too. But for right now, this has been Super Nerd-tendo, but goddamn it, it'll be Super Nerd-tendo when we get back, ladies and gentlemen. But I got to fix some shit, because, this shit's new, and Tech Issues is a bitch. And TKC, I thank you for dealing with this shit, as well as you, Racer, because, it's a bitch. But we'll be right back.
Tell me something, my friend. You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Oh, hey, I'm Uncle Raffy. You're listening to No Fucks Given Radio.
I have a plan. You've got a plan. Paul, you're copying me from when I said I had a plan. I'm not.
What percentage of a plan do you have?
I always ask that of all my prey.
You can find me at raffrights.blogspot.com.
When did we establish?
Like 3 seconds ago!
No, I wasn't listening. I was thinking of something else.
These bastards are crazy. Give them a listen.
I just like the sound of it.
Smart questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know how this machine worked.
No, I'm good.
No fucks given.
Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. We just added the video over here at NoFucksGivenRadio.com. We'll be streaming over at YouTube and hopefully on Facebook as well, just so you all know. But this has caused a couple slight little hiccups. I think we're finally over them. But for this episode of Super Nerd-tendo, episode 4, it was actually about just a minute or two we actually missed, unfortunately. But what it is we were getting into TKC's experiences with the CIA, which, ladies and gentlemen, I'll just let him explain. Thank you, TKC, for stopping by Super Nerd-tendo real quick. And here he is. I hope you enjoy.
And I don't know actually what happened there, but, I mean, it was something that had to do with the move, and it was something pretty bad, that was done to him. And, the CIA is all over this place. So now they've got this 28-year-old liberal reporter, what's her name? Colleen, Colleen Campbell. Yeah. And they've got a video. There just happened to be somebody observing her making a complete fool of herself, being arrested outside a comedy show. And she's saying
I did
she
see
was
that today.
drugged.
I did see that today.
Yeah, and she's saying she was drugged. And it's like anybody that actually knows the presence of the CIA in Philadelphia, it's like, oh my God, yeah, of course she was drugged. There's simply no question that that's what happened. And so, that's the whole history of Philadelphia. It's a history it's a history of the CIA's awesome, terrible presence. There's simply no question that that's what's going on in Philadelphia. So if this girl says she was drugged, what's her name, Colleen Campbell? Yeah. this girl says that she was drugged by the CIA, yeah, or that she was drugged, yeah, then I guess I know who did it. It's Philadelphia, home of the Liberty Bells, so it was the CIA. It's that hard to figure out, yeah.
That's great. And, man, you bring all this up, T. Casey, and I know this was a subject, and we're not going to touch on this much, but I just got to say, I mean, when I started researching you initially, holy shit, T. Casey, what the fuck did you do?
Well, see, the thing is that what you have to understand is this, that, like, in the 70s, I was known as a highbrow comic book writer, okay? And that's the main publisher I was known for, the Warren Publishing Company in Philadelphia that I've just defamed. But there were actually several other for as well. And the one I did a DC's House of Mystery. Archie Comics had a comic called Red Circle Sorcery. And I did some underground. I did Power Comics that introduced Dave Sim. I did Orb Magazine that was a Canadian underground. A few things like that. But that was in the 70s. Now, I kind of see there's so many things. When you ask me a question like that, there's so many damn things that I know what you are talking about, but there's so many damn things that you could be talking about, and I'll run through them.
Real quick.
1970s, highbrow comic book writer. Okay, 1980s, that's when I said I was blacklisted. But the thing is, that's when I did the ban smoking in comics campaign. I had Bill Clinton sign documents about that.
Oh, wow.
I went in the Congressional Record about that. I went in the United Nations publications in Geneva, World Health Magazine from WHO. I was in 2 issues of that. The Democratic Journalist from the communist version of the UN from 87. It was published in Prague. I went in that, all of them with tears rolling down their cheeks saying how great it was that I was campaigning against smoking in comic books. Now, this is what happened in the 80s. I know what you're asking me about, and I am getting to it. But the thing is, what was actually happening in the 80s was that, as I say, I alleged that I'd been blacklisted. All through the 70s, I was a star. I made, I signed autographs. I made conventions. They published me. There was a half a dozen different companies at least that published me. I even had a porn novel out from Carlisle Communications. Yeah. So the thing is that. But I mean, I had all these publishers. These were all paying publishers. That publisher itself paid me $1,000 for the book. So the thing is, I had all these paying publishers, and I was far from, a street person. So, and I never imagined that I would be one. But in the 1980s, I became both a street person and the guy spearheading the movement to take smoking out of comic books. And so the thing is that I could not, in the 80s, I could not have done what I can do now, is go on radio and TV and so on, say I'm blacklisted. It just wouldn't have worked. But I could go on and say, hey, I'm campaigning against smoking in comic books. And
can I say real quick
for doing that?
Hey, T. Casey, I think it's funny that you say that, and I'm sitting here on a live feed on Facebook smoking a cigarette, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, you didn't let me, that's because you didn't let me finish. Otherwise, all you did was steal my punchline. So the thing is that it's like to my friends, I said, I smoke myself, and I haven't read a comic book in 20 years. And I swear to God, one time when I was calling up one of the... See, I was doing it like for a vendetta, It was like that the comic book industry had blacklisted me, and I knew I was helpless as far as, like, saying that the comic book industry had blacklisted me or the CIA was involved or something like that. Oh, my God. It was the 80s. They would have attacked me. Everyone would have attacked me. But the thing is that I could work it so that everyone gave me backup. But all they did was give me backup in terms of lip service, or documents or write-ups, but I stayed in the damn free meal. That's why I'm grateful for. Yeah, I say, hey, oh God, I'm having all the street people, listen to this show. The guy is hardcore. He uses bad language and all that. So, yeah, this guy is okay. This guy is okay by street standards. Okay, well, I met a lot of street people in free meals in Berkeley, California, in Oakland, California, in Ann Arbor, Michigan. While I did stuff like went in the Congressional Record, went in United Nations publications, went on TV. I did the California Tonight Show up in Concord, California, and all of them I went on and I said, yeah, I'm an award-winning comic book writer, and I'm campaigning to ban smoking in comic books. And they were rolling out these documents. Bill Clinton made January 1990 TKC Brennan month in the state of Arkansas, and he signed it in the Secretary of State, the seal of Arkansas and all that. And I'm in the Congressional Record. It's like, oh my God. But I stayed, I slept in a guy's office. I slept in homeless shelters. I slept in guru cults. I lined up at free meals. I lined up at hardcore free meals, all while I was the big anti-smoking campaigner. Yeah. And I smoked myself, for sure. I could never have survived that environment and not smoked.
Right.
I mean, yeah, like for sure. I mean, oh my God. I'm going to be on the damn streets in Oakland, and I'm not going to smoke. Yeah, right.
Right.
Like for sure, I mean, yeah, like I'm on the streets in Oakland, so I want to send out a subtle message, that I'm like hardcore. I'm also a damn gang member because I was in the in the Bay. I was in the Veda Cultural Society, and that was the splinter group from the Hare Krishna people. The Guru had gotten in, one too many shootouts with police or something for the CIA to cover for him the way they usually did. There was some kind of problem like that. Anyway, he got himself thrown out, and I was there, and I was really suffering. Like, oh my God, my girlfriend sent me out to the Bay, and for a while they were like pushing me money like every week and all, and I was saying like, hey, I just got written up in this UN magazine. It was October 1983, World Health magazine from Geneva, and it was like in every language in the world,
Oh, damn.
And Casey Brennan of Ann Arbor, Michigan. I think they left off the T. Like world champion comic book writer takes stand on smoking in comics. So I figure I'm in like Flynn, But so the girls like ship me to the Bay, and I end up like on the street, going to free meals in Oakland. Like first I'm like, I'm living in a ghetto hotel in Oakland with the girls paying the rent, and hobbling to free meals, and like no money left over. The girls like paying my rent and nothing else, and finally they can't do that anymore. But like I cleverly have set up a deal with the local Hare Krishna temple, which really isn't, that I don't know yet, and like I'm going to join them. So I did join them. But, I mean, they were hardcore. It was like the Hansa Duda cult. It's like, oh, my God, they shot up Berkeley and everything. They were like hardcore gang members. Yeah. They were like totally hardcore gang members, And the guys that were there before I joined were even more hardcore. Ooh. There was a guy that, like, got shot and thrown up on our front yard and all that. Jiva, like he got shot for some kind of like hardcore activity with other guys. Just the deal went sour, so he got shot and thrown up on our front yard and all that. So, And plus, like, okay, that happened before I got there. While I was there, and this is something you won't read in the newspapers, this is something we're talking about, the bad smoking, T.K.C. Brennan's bad smoking comics campaign of the 80s. And stuff that happened, okay? Well, at this crazy guru cult, one of our ex-priests tried to kill Manson while in prison. And the L.A. Times, and
wow,
and for sure, and it's like it's like into the histories of like Manson and all that. He threw like something in Manson's face, and set his face on fire, and but it doesn't say. But no, listen, it doesn't say that he was a Hare Krishna. You got to look that information up. You can get to it; it's covered. But not only that. It doesn't say that he was a Hare Krishna linked to this like gun-toting, gun-crazy guru that took me in. It was Srila Hansadutta. It doesn't say that. I know that what you're getting to is I'm a JFK suspect. So you had Srila Hansadutta, the CIA gun-toting guru, T.K.C. Brennan, the alleged MK Ultra victim, JFK suspect, and the guy that tried, I don't even know his name, the guy that tried to kill Manson, all sleeping in the same damn room, not at the same time. Yeah. But you're not supposed to hook that stuff up. You're only supposed to know this, that, or the other thing. This guy tried to take out, not only that, I had a better account of him trying to take out Manson than anybody did, because he called the temple later, and they let him do that. Yeah. And he told his boys what exactly went down. His boys told me, and so I publish it every so often, and then I get insane.
Why?
For making up something awful or something like that. But
I just don't get why they...
I know exactly what went down.
Yeah, why would they let him make a phone call after that, man? That's insane.
I don't... Well, it's like... I don't know. But here's, like, actually what happened. The thing is that... And nobody, like, actually cared that he tried to take out Manson. When L.A. Times came to us, they said Manson had been burned over 90% of his body and wasn't expected to live. And, like, we were all bragging about that, like People's Park. Yeah, well, like, one of our boys had to take out Manson, you got to hear about in the paper and so on. But, see, like, what actually happened is that this guy went to prison for something or other, I don't know what, and he was chanting, and Manson didn't know that they weren't sissies anymore, that they were all killers, so Manson threatened him or something like that. So he, like, hung out, and apparently in those days they allowed, talking about, like, crazy things they allowed. But apparently they allowed both flammable stuff in the poppy shop and cigarette lighters. So the guy, like, sets it up for, like, weeks and all. And this is, like, what he tells one of the boys there in Berkeley, and then one of them tells me and all that. But, yeah, it doesn't sound... But, I mean, yeah, it has to be. And like, so the guy is, like, hanging out at the hobby shop waiting for Manson to come in and pretending to be smelling the paint thinner. And when Manson gets in, he throws it in Manson's face and lights it. And when the L.A. Times came to us, they said that Manson was going to die and all that. And so, yeah, that was the account that I was given. And I wrote it up in Austin, Texas, called Sulphur Slugs. It was the winter 1988-99 issue. I forget what number, whatever. But okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, man, I can hear you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So anyway, the Sulphur Slugs magazine, I wrote it up, and the thing is, they did these crazy cartoons with it, where there's a Hare Krishna devotee that's supposed to be me taking ink out of his head and making this stuff up. You know, so the thing is that the implication of the cartoons were great, but the implication of it, and then comments that they made afterwards, was that I had made up the entire thing, which of course I had not. You know, that was, but I don't. God help me if I had to answer in court now. 30 years later, but I don't remember who told me, but someone gave me this account that this was how the attempt on Manson's life was carried out by this person, waiting in the prison hobby shop with both a lighter and flammable stuff, throwing it in Manson's face and lighting it, and and then everyone. So the thing is, that's what I was doing in the 80s. Then in the 90s, two things happened. They started reprinting my stuff, which was when Harris Comics brought out the Vampirella stuff colorized, and before that, Creepy Eerie and Vampirella had been tied up in court 2 years. They'd gone out of business, I forget, 82, 83, something like that. And and Dave Sim, he did some great things. He got me into actually two comics I can think of that were pretty spectacular. Somebody quoted Alan Moore of the 70s. Well, that was in Following Cerebus number 6, and he set that up. And because I had created his first aardvark, his first aardvark was called Dandy the Aardvark, and he said, hey, let's make it Cerebus. And that went the whole run, 300 issues or whatever. He never mentioned me or acknowledged me or anything like that. And and then suddenly in Following Cerebus number 6, and it's significant, Actor Comics Presents Volume 1, he illustrated one of the JFK stories. It's called Necronomicon Monks. So, and it's great. So, and that's available on the net somewhere. Actor Comics Presents. There's only one, but it's Actor Comics Presents Volume 1, and there's a Dave Sim story there, drawn by Sim and written by me, and it's a story. It's JFK and my years at Warren. So the thing is that those are the things that I combine now. Oh yeah, see, the other thing is that in 1996, by some irony, they started reprinting. Harris started reprinting my Vampirella stories, and at the same time, I started writing the JFK stories, alleging that my family had been victimized by the MK Ultra program, and that I was one of the. At 15 years old, I had been kidnapped and forced to be Dallas.
And see, real quick,
and I'm number 8.
For anybody that doesn't know what the MK Ultra program is, first off, you should. I don't know why you don't. Are you not aware of the bullshit our government is up to? Because there's a lot of it. So I think that's something that at least most people, I mean, if you're my age and you don't know what that is, I think that's a problem. That's just my opinion. Like, go watch The Men Who Stare at Goats. And I know that's not accurate, TKC, but I mean, it'll at least fucking give you a headway to do more research into it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, what did you name?
The Men Who Stare at Goats.
What?
You ain't never seen that, TKC?
Oh, God, yeah, you're great.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, my God.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. But and by my recollection, that was a military program, and that's certainly part of what we're talking about. But the thing is that the civilian stuff is always worse. The civilian assassins are always worse than the military assassins. It doesn't. Everything that the civilians do is worse. It's like the CIA, the creation of the CIA. Oh my God, that we did so many crazy things because we thought we had to. Well, maybe we did. I don't know. During World War II, the Office of Strategic Services and Wild Bill Donovan and so on and so forth. In if any of that crazy stuff of giving up our liberties was necessary during that war, then it should have been specified that that's what we were talking about. That war, not something indefinitely, but just during that war. That
See,
if our civil liberties had to be sacrificed, then it was during the duration of World War II, and not at any other time. That's what should have been specified.
I see your point in that, man. I'll tell you, TKC, man, you make an interesting, you say something very interesting as far as with civilians, it's always far worse. And, I mean, this is just completely a theory on my part, but I would assume because the military always assumes that civilians are far more disposable than military personnel that you put serious amounts of training into. You know what I'm saying? Who gives a shit about the guy that you brainwashed? Make him go blow somebody's head off and then don't give a fuck if he blows his head off, you know? But that guy that you fucking, you know, put a couple grand into, making sure he's in shape, can run, swim, do all this bullshit, that's the dude you want to keep around. But yeah, the guy that you've just trained to point a gun and shoot it, who cares?
The civilian operations, this stuff that the CIA comes up with is still far worse than anything the military can think of. I swear to you, it is, yeah. No matter what the military can think of, there's no point. It's like someone is trying to tell me, I'm not going to even name the person, that there was something comparable between the FBI, COINTELPRO, and the CIA. You know, obviously there isn't. You know, it's amateurs, it's wannabes, it's people trying to act like. Okay, the closest, if you want an analogy, who the hell was that crazy president of the Philippines? Ferdinand Marcos, okay? He had one of his opponents shot. The guy's name was Benigno Aquino. And Aquino flew into the airport there, the Philippines. I guess it was Manila. And so the thing is that he had just barely got off the plane and was walking down, you know, whatever it's been so long since I've flown, you know, I take to the bus to the free meal. I used to fly in the 70s, I guess the 80s too, part of them anyway. But so I can't even remember, someplace. So that he's walking, Benigno Aquino is walking down this thing, you know, waving to his supporters, and suddenly, blam, 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 he's shot and killed. And they have a mock JFK investigation, and they have a fake a patsy, a guy they drag out of his car and they shoot him, and they hold a commission, and they claim that was the lone gunman and all that, and everybody knew it was thorough nonsense, you know. But it was like, it's like Junior trying to act like the real deal, you know. Yeah, Junior trying to act like the real deal. I guess that's the only way I can think of to put it. So, anyway, they got Ferdinand Marcos out of there, needless to say. I'm too wheezy to do this, but they got Marcos out of there, needless to say. But the thing is that that's what he tried to do. He tried to do something comparable. Well, military intelligence really isn't comparable to the CIA. It really isn't. The things they can do, the things that they can think of doing, are always a million times worse. You know, the Colleen Campbell thing in Philadelphia, for God's sake, you know, I think that's beyond military intelligence. But I think the CIA would do it. I think they did do it. I think this Philadelphia is so saturated with CIA agents right now that one of them actually did get to it. You know, there's so many things that the political stances on. There are so many things that point to that happening. That I believe she was drugged. I definitely believe she was drugged, and I believe MK Ultra still, some facet of it is still in existence in Philadelphia, a place obviously that they love. witness the Warren Publishing Company, the destruction of Move, when they dropped plastic explosive on it from a helicopter for no reason, and then burned down 80 blocks, 80 square blocks of the ghetto. And it gets even worse than that. The mayor of Philadelphia at that time, he ran for re-election, and who runs against him? Frank Rizzo, with the endorsement of the Ku Klux Klan.
Wow.
So I figured, yeah. And it's one of those deals where, well, do you vote for the Klan or do you vote for the one that just burned down the 80 blocks, and people vote for the guy that just burned down the 80 blocks? I guess, so whatever. But, I mean, that's what Philadelphia is like. Oh, my God.
No, T. Casey. Look, in that particular situation where you're offered those two particular choices, well, me personally, shit, I like to take the recommendation of my co-host from the No Fucks Given Hour and one of the hosts of the Freaky Fucked Up Beer Hour. Yeah, you eat the head and keep the rest. Yeah, or fuck, man, I said keep the head and eat the rest. Look, I flipped that shit backwards. I did. Fuck it. Eat the head, keep the rest. Keep the head, eat the rest. I don't give a fuck. As long as a piece of shit like that don't end up in fucking office. That's all that matters. But this is Chuckles. Yeah, keep the head, eat the rest. We'll be back, ladies and gentlemen.
Talking about my neighborhood, I'm searching for my prey. 'Cause it's 3 in the morning, so it's time for me to play. And I got my fucking Chuckles mask on, my bloody jacket on. So you better run and hide, or else it's time to say goodbye.
Yeah, but we're back. Supah Nerd-tendo, man. Still got Race Excess Cash. Is DKB here, man?
Yeah, I'm here.
You're here? Just quiet, DK?
Yeah, okay.
Hey, real quick, man. We got
okay.
we got TKC Brennan on the line, man. And I just gotta say, we going into a bit of conspiracy theory shit, you know. Racer, you want to announce what we're gonna start doing here soon? I mean, DKB. I don't know why I said Racer. Shut up, Racer. I didn't mean to ask you a question. I apologize, Racer. I didn't mean to shut you up, but I didn't mean to say shut up, man. But DKB, man, you want to announce what we're gonna start doing soon? That's what I meant to say.
Oh, okay. Well. Maybe it's going to involve playing my YouTube videos. Is that a possibility?
Oh no, I will get to that.
We can go on to discuss.
Oh no, yeah, I will totally get to that, man. I promise you for a fact. It's just, in all sincerity, there's a lot of buttons on this shit, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not used to all these goddamn buttons. That's just the motherfucking truth of it. I apologize for that little interruption there, but I fixed it. That's what's up. We'll try and get that shit going. It's a lot of shit. Look, if you're tuning in on NoFucksGivenRadio.com, though, I promise you don't have all these fucking problems. You know, if you're tuning in there or the app, it's going smooth because I know what the fuck I'm doing with that shit, man. But again, this is episode 4, Supah Nerd-tendo. That's right, man. Got Race Excess Cash, Mistah DKB, and DKB, man. What I was talking about is the show we're getting ready to start. You know.
A conspiracy show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're gonna be starting. We're gonna be starting a little show over here, TKC. That's just completely conspiracy theory, man. Yeah, that's what's up, man. So yeah, conspiracy theory. Yeah, my bad. So like you were going into that, man. As far as can we get a bit more into the MK Ultra because we know your family was involved, and I've watched several interviews, and look, we're not gonna get in as depth as those interviews have.
I'd better qualify this by saying that I'm not much into the conspiracy theory people, and they're not much into me. If you buy the new magazine I have out, it's Creeps number 10, and I picked it up at Barnes & Noble today. It kind of goes into the conspiracy theory thing, like from a different point. Okay, it's on page 40, Wings of a Bird, and the deadly madcap aviator I refer to on page 41 is obviously a reference to David Ferry, and this character called the Centurion is obviously drawn like a similar character that was in a story that I won an award for. in the original Creepy, in Creepy number 36 from 1970. So the thing is that it's very much a conspiracy-oriented story. It talks about chemtrails and the Flint water supply and things like that, and it draws them all together in a comic book story. So that in that sense, yeah, maybe as of Creeps number 10, maybe I am part of the whole conspiracy theory crowd. Maybe I got to get used to identifying with them, or maybe when they all talk about their books and their theories and all that, I can go, yeah, I'm just as good. I was in Creeps number 10 with Wings of the Bird, yeah, and I wrote about chemtrails and things in a comic book. But they certainly don't like what I did up to that point. What I've done up to that point, all I've done is tell on the one guy. Unfortunately, telling on that one guy links all of my family and me to the JFK assassination. But my parents were they were school board officials in Michigan. I made some references to Michigan already. My dad was on the St. Clair County Board of Education. That ended sometime in the early 1970s when Michigan went over to this ISD concept, Intermediate School District. It has something to do with, there's still a Board of Education in a sense, but it's not an equal member board, and it's not elected by somebody or other. I think that my dad always made the Board of Education. He always won. I forget whether the election was made up of the member school boards in the St. Clair County Board of Education, or whether the voters at large chose. Either way, my dad won. But my mother was the CEO of the Swamp School District Board. She was the secretary. That was her office, as it were. But she was actually the head of it. There was the secretary, the treasurer, and the the so-called president. And but she had actually she was actually in charge of it. Well, they helped keep the school taxes down in this rural area where I live. They helped keep these school taxes down to a minimum because they fought to keep these one-room schools open. All through the 50s, all through the 60s, they just did an amazing job at that. But at the same time, they had this deal with this hypnotist that he told us that he was MK Ultra, and I'm saying that he was MK Ultra. His name was J.H. Earnshaw, and he was an osteopath. He was in Port Hope, Michigan. And my dad used to take me and other kids up there to see him. And he was involved with the MK Ultra program. And did he get me involved with the Kennedy assassination? Yes, he did. Without any question, he did. But at the same time, when I say that I was involved with that, when I say I was involved with the Kennedy assassination, I have to qualify that now. I have to add to that how successful my comic book career has become as a result of the statement that I made. But if anybody ever actually looks into those statements, oh my God, yeah, they kidnapped me from the Gale Airport that morning and flew me to Dallas and draped me over the gun and made me fire the first shot, and I tried to miss. They already established a so-called motive for me by getting me to pass out right-wing pamphlets in high school because my dad was on the school board, and he was involved with all these right-wing groups that supported his anti-tax stances and vice versa. So I was in contact with all the right-wing groups of that era. The Dan Smoot Report, oh my gracious, the Conservative Society of America, the Christian Anti-Communism Crusade, the Christian Crusade, the John Birch Society, the 20th Century Reformation Hour, oh God, oh yeah, the Cinema Educational Guild, yeah, all these right-wing groups of the 50s and early 60s I was in contact with, and I frequently distributed their pamphlets at high school. I probably had my back pocket stuffed with a bunch of them when they draped me over the gun, you know. But the thing is that, yeah, they did that, you know. Apparently, they gave me an injection at the Yale airport, put me in a box, unloaded me in the Texas School Book Depository building, draped me over the gun, and made me fire one shot, and I still tried to miss myself on the floor. And David Ferry, one of the guys that kidnapped me, jumped on the rifle and kept shooting, and there were other guys that shot from out on the street. And they got him, you know. I didn't. They got me and my whole family when I tried to talk, because the thing is that my family might have been bad people, and I might be a bad person in a lot of ways. But nonetheless, when we saw what was going down, we did try to talk. You know, we tried every step of the way, and no matter what we endured when we tried to talk, we still tried to talk some more, no matter what they did to us, you know. And that's been the way that it's been every step of it, you know. And when I look back at when I was in the ghetto in Oakland, I was joking about that earlier, you know. Yeah, okay, I look back on that now and say, hey, that was fun, you know. Hey, that's part of my credentials. That's part of the things that I can brag about now when I go on the talk show. How I lined up for a pre-meal in Oakland. It used to take an hour and a half to get in. You know, it's like, oh my God.
Right.
Like it was like, yeah, it was like totally hardcore in those days. It's like, but the thing is that it was like all those things were fun, but I really took the hammer. You know, okay, yeah, I turned it fun, and I joined a guru cult that was kind of fun, and it was like sort of like being in a gang, and you know, and I could talk with the other bad guys and all that, you know, and so yeah, it was like fun and all, but why was all that done to me in the first place? You know, if I were in the Bay, oh my God, why should I be? Why should I be booked for speaking engagements at UC Berkeley? You know, why shouldn't I be socially involved with the underground people? They're such, you know, big time radicals. You know, why do I have to be ostracized to the point where you know, I end up joining this thing that's like half gang and half guru cult? You know, why did that have to happen? Yeah, it was good that I made it so it was fun. That part was good. It was even good that I made it so that I could write about it later. But like, why did it happen in the first place? That's the part that I don't get. You know, why wasn't I? Why? If I were in the Bay Area, San Francisco, in the 1980s, why did I have to come back and so now I can go on talk shows and say what it was like to have to fight dog packs in Oakland while getting to the free meal?
Look,
you know,
it's crazy that you lived in that, man. But yeah, that's definitely not why we brought you on the show.
But the thing is that it's yeah, I'm aware of that. But the thing is that when I do any appearance right now, it's always a combination of three things. It's a combination of, yeah, here's the comics that I have out on the stands or on sale on the internet or whatever right now, and Creeps number 10 at Barnes & Noble at one of them. and the JFK stuff, which you just talked me into, and my days on the streets. Because the thing is that that's part of it. Unfortunately, or maybe even fortunately, either way, however it works, that's also part of it. You know, that's part of my my background. That's part of my part of my credentials. Like, oh my God.
No,
it's one of the things that I can brag about.
Yeah, TKC,
yeah.
that's part of a hell of a story, is what it is.
Good TV movie of the week.
Whew.
Oh, yeah,
I'd watch.
That would be great. Put it on Lifetime. It belongs on Lifetime.
TKC story. The TKC story.
Yeah.
No, wait.
Make it a Lifetime.
If there was one,
TV movie, yeah.
If there was one channel I would not expect to see your life story on, TKC, it would be fucking Lifetime.
Maybe not.
I just want to point that out.
The thing, I used to watch. Who the hell was it? The Denise Austin. Yeah, I used to be a little on the anorexic side, and so I used to watch Denise Austin on Lifetime. But I mean, I used to hardcore work out, you know. And on those rare days when she used hand weights, I had hand weights, you know. And I matched her move, like all the way through. So yeah. I got that experience, but actually, but as far as the movies, yeah, you're right. I can only get about like 90 seconds into them. It's like trying to watch The View. You know, it's like however much you may be for it, you know, it's like socio-politically or something like that. You can go like, hey, I'm for this, but still you can only take 90 seconds of it. That's true with any Lifetime movie. Yeah, any Lifetime movie, that's true of. You know, The View, that's true of. Okay, Lenny Bruce. Any Lenny Bruce record.
Yeah, right.
Aww.
Yeah, you can only, for any, yeah. And there's all kinds of things that you could theoretically be for. But it's like you can only actually stand about 90 seconds of it. You know, so, oh God, yeah, there's lots of music like that. Like, oh my God, yeah. There's lots of music. You don't have to name it. You don't have to be cruel. But, yeah, there's lots of music just like that is theoretically for.
You know,
you can only stand about 90 seconds of it.
Say, you know, TKC, you're talking to three musicians, right?
He's a musician himself.
Well, you're supposed to. You guys are that's why you conspired against me. Yeah, that you're a conspiracy. No wonder you wanted to have. That's why my social workers song isn't being played on the show.
Hey,
because I'm talking to.
You know what?
Musicians.
You know what? No, you know what? You gonna try and call me out like that, TKC? Like, I ain't gonna play your fucking track and shit. Like, TKC's like, he ain't gonna play that shit. Like, he thinks I ain't gonna play that shit, man. He thinks I ain't gonna play that shit. That's just fucking
you can
rude.
actually get it on. You can actually get it on somehow. Is that right?
Well, hold on, see, because what we're gonna do, we got to do a couple things. Because I definitely agree, dude. Fuck your social worker. You're like, oh my God. Now let me see. Which way did it go? Because I grabbed the video and I grabbed the audio. So we got to throw the audio here, ladies and gentlemen. All right? Because for real, fuck your social worker. We'll be right back on No Fucks Given Radio, or at least on the .com part. We'll still be tuning in on the YouTube. Check it out.
It's not YouTube.
3, 2, 1, and go.
Hey, social worker, fuck you. Hey, social worker, fuck you. Hey, social worker, fuck you. We're street punks, we're gutter punks. Hey, social worker, fuck you. 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 Hey, social worker, fuck
social worker, fuck you. Hey, social worker, fuck you. Hey, social worker, fuck you. Hey, social worker, fuck you. We're street pups, we're gutter pups. Hey, social worker, fuck you. 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 Hey, social worker, fuck you.
We're back now. No Fucks Given Radio live, Supah Nerd-tendo,
okay.
episode 4. So now we're back on both Facebook and NoFucksGivenRadio.com. We were back on Facebook a little bit earlier. I'll be real honest with you. We just got done playing that social worker. But I'll tell you, I want to ask you a question, TKC. Because when you were going to abolish smoking in comics, the comic book code still existed, right? Why do you think they didn't include that in the comic book code? I'm curious, because that code was fucking stringent. Holy shit, right?
Well, that's funny. Actually, years later, first place congressional record in '82 and '83, some UN magazines and all through the '80s, big time write-ups like that. And I definitely affected the industry. Now, personally, like I said on the radio, I said personally, privately, that I smoke myself, and I haven't read a comic book in 20 years. But I was doing it as a vendetta against the comic book industry. I alleged they blacklisted me, and like I said, I had a terrible time in the Bay, and I'm still bitter about that, and very much was so at the time. And that definitely influenced things. But actually, Marvel Comics, I understand. They don't credit me at all, or those UN or the World Health Organization articles or anything. But I understand they did ban smoking in their comic books and so on. It's a different world in 2017. I've stopped smoking because of COPD. That's why I'm a little wheezy and so on through this interview. But the thing is that through the heyday of the ban smoking comics campaign, I definitely smoked and did it like to be a smart aleck. Like one time I was on the one time I was on the phone with a girl booking a TV talk show interview, because they had real talk shows in those days, morning talk shows where they put on traveling guests with one of the people they put on. People talk about, a book they have out or something, and they kind of go on with like local business people. They'll come on, tell them, what the gutter cleaning business was like, or that kind of thing, and how it compared to 20 years ago, and pictures of the shop, from 20 years before that, and so on. Well, you go on with people like that. That was one kind of talk show, the early morning talk show, and there were things on cable and so on, and they were good. They were professional on cable and UHF and so on. They were good. They were professional. I did a lot of them. And one time, I was lighting a cigarette. I always needed a cigarette while I talked on the phone. That was no exception. And the girl heard the click of the lighter. And said, "What? Yeah." And said, "What was that?" And I heard it too. I knew. I was smart enough. I'm smart enough to go along with it. Like for sure. And but I pulled that off. But I mean, everybody was pulling off something. It's like, oh my God, here I am. All these terrible things that have been done to me, and so on. Starting off with the MK Ultra thing. And ending up, I'm on the streets in a guru cult in Berkeley, completely friendless and alone. Like, oh my God, dropped off. What is that? 2,500 miles away from Michigan, and in this insane guru cult, and fending for myself against dog packs and everything else, going to the free meals to get meat because I can't live on vegetables. Like, oh my God. But I mean, at the same time, the vegetables were great. They were Indian spices and everything. They were just wonderful. I loved the meals at that place. They were almost a real Christian temple.
Hey, real quick, ladies and gentlemen, holy shit. I didn't realize there was a limit to fucking Facebook Live. It was like, hey, you've reached your limit, asshole. You can't just fucking stream on Facebook endlessly. We are still live on No Fucks Given Radio. I am getting ready to jump back onto Facebook Live real quick. I just wanted to let you know that real quick. Yo, TKC, can I just say, because I have to sleep, man, I'd love to have you back on because holy shit, you got stories on top of stories, man.
Oh, of course.
Hey.
No problem. Were we winding up right now?
No, I think it's crazy. I feel like I could put you on every show that we conduct on this radio, and you would have a story that would go along with whatever the theme of that show was.
Great.
That's insane, man. I run 10 different fucking shows on this radio. You, sir, have lived a life that is filled with all kinds of fucking adventure. I mean, it's crazy, man. Hey, real quick, though, I want to know, like, what got you initially where you're like, I'm going to fucking write some comic books? Like, there had to be a moment where you decided that. What was it?
Well, the thing is that both of my late parents were nationally known authors. My mother, most importantly for paperback novels, Alice Brennan, but my late father, as Bill Brennan, worked for some of the pulp magazines. And so the thing is that both of them were known in New York, and I, of course, knew the comic book industry, having been a reader and one of the fans, And so the thing is that when I started writing for comic books, I mean, it was amazing because I was an overnight success, and I applied something. I mean, I guess maybe I did, maybe I didn't realize it, but when I was an adolescent, the highbrow things were the things that I was most fond of, and I reapplied that in the 70s. I think, Bill Gaines used the phrase "stories that make you think." I think it was Bill Gaines. Oh my God! I hope I'm not misquoting. Maybe it was Stanley. But the thing is that whatever. But the concept it works, whichever it was. I think it was Gaines. But the concept is good. People always appreciated a highbrow comic book story as opposed to, I called it pablum at the time. But actually there was something to be said for this standard adolescent aimed comic book of the Bronze Age or the Silver Age. Just that I didn't want to write them. I wanted to write the highbrow stuff. And I was inspired by stuff like Man in Black. They did this tragic story. I was thinking of it just now about people on board a ship that it sinks, and the Man in Black is the personification of fate. And he saves a drowning couple and so on. So there's Impact. From EC, I mentioned William Gaines. Well, at the same time they started Mad, there was a magazine called Impact. There was, just great. And I had the #1 issue, and they had the highbrow stories in it too. So I understood that concept. And right down the line, there were so many things to inspire me. Those two most notably, I'm thinking of. And so I started writing stories like that. And people remembered that. They appreciated that, whether or not they knew about the other,
Hell yeah, no, man, I totally understand.
Stuff.
Yeah, I get what you're saying about that,
The
though, as far
JFK
as
stuff,
highbrow. Oh, go ahead, man, sorry.
Yeah, well, the JFK stuff, sometimes they knew about, sometimes they didn't. But I've got far more people worldwide know of T.K.C. Brennan because of the Warren stories than anything else. I mean, oh my God, those things were translated into every language on earth. Oh my God, I don't even recognize the alphabet of some of those languages. And I don't know if it was, if they picked and chose. I mean, I don't know of any cases where it was just mine that they translated. There were always a number of comics, but I know they translated the House of Mystery ones, the Warren ones. I've heard some of the Red Circle Sorcery of Skywall ones. I don't know for sure on that. But, I mean, the thing is, House of Mystery and Warren, I definitely know that my stories were translated. So, and into all of these obscure languages, oh, my God, So, and then they've got a Terry quote that's from one of the stories that I wrote during my Vampirella era. And the story was supposed to be funny, and it went into Vegetarian Times and a magazine called Flash. Went into both of them. Oh, my God. Thank God I got away with everything. Both those magazines are out of existence, but I sold them both the same story. And it was a funny story about a guy that was like a vampire, and he's like loves meat, and he's running around in a restaurant grabbing meat off people's plate and eating it and so on. He's like violent, and it starts off with this quote, this poor animal's quote, and it's supposed to be funny, and the guy is supposed to be crazy. It's supposed to be actually a kind of a Vampirella spin-off, because the guy is kind of like a vampire himself, And so they picked it up, and they used this quote, and they translate that all over the world into lots of different languages. So, yeah, my name is known for lots, in all over the earth. It's just amazing. You can search for my name. You can go to Google and search in various languages for my name, and it isn't just Spanish. I mean, that's good. There's a Wikipedia page about me in Spanish, and that's great. I love that, in Spanish. But it's not just Spanish. It's every language in the world. It's like, oh, my God.
Oh, wow.
Turkish they've got, It's like, yeah, they've got just everything. There's TKC Brennan comics out there.
Man, that's cool. Well, hey, TKC, I got to ask you then. Now, I mean, you're getting back into, you got books getting ready to come out. You got books that are getting republished. What do you think of the industry comic book wise now and what's currently coming out of it? And real quick, as far as you saying highbrow, I just got to say, and shout out to Racer for this shit. I think we've got a writer coming up on the next episode who I'd like to say does highbrow and lowbrow at the same time, and that's Matt Hawkins. I think he does that really well as far as intermeshing the two. But what do you just think of the industry overall?
Well, the thing is that I have to be completely rebriefed on everything. And the truth is, I had to be rebriefed. I'm thinking back in my days in the Bay in 83 to 85. And, of course, I knew comics in the 70s. And when I went into the comic book stores in Berkeley in the 80s, I was amazed by the things that I saw. Like the one, what was it? Yeah, Best of Two Worlds comic book store. I swear to God, they had a whole rack in the center of the store full of manga comics or anime, whatever you called them then or now or whatever, and they're all in Japanese. You can't read them. But, I mean, they're all fantastic. And the guy was cutting edge, putting them out there. But, like, nobody bought them at the time. The guy was just cutting edge, for putting them out there. So I had to be briefed as to what was cutting edge on comics even in the 80s. God knows what it would take to brief me as to what is going on right now, because I really don't know.
I have an answer. T. Casey, I have an answer for what would it take to brief you on what's currently going on in the comic book world. Racer XX Cash.
Sure.
You don't want to know.
You don't, oh God. Just make him fucking optimistic, why don't you?
Nutshell. Oh my God. In a nutshell, you don't want to know. That's great. That tells it. It's like, oh my God, why waste words? Like, why not get right to the point?
That's it.
Oh shit.
Okay, I get it. Okay.
That's terrible, gentlemen. That's all I have to say. Yeah, TKC. Oh my God, TKC. There's like 20 more things I want to go into you with, but holy shit. Hey, Racer. We're gonna fucking. I swear to God, we'll figure this out. We're gonna have to do another episode of Supah Nerd-tendo's, guys. What do you think? Like, want an extra one next month? Anybody? Oh wait, not next month. Not next month. I take that back. The month after, because next month is probably not a good idea for squeezing in an extra Supah Nerd-tendo, is it, babe?
Yeah, we'll talk about that off the air, maybe.
We'll talk about that shit off the air. But I definitely want to bring you back, TKC, because I tell there's a lot more stories. I want to get DKB to talk a little bit more next time, and yeah, hopefully you guys not.
There's no K or TKC, Brennan.
No. See, look, TKC. No, it's DKB. That's Mistah DKB. That's the other co-host, man. That's the other host of the Supah Nerd-tendo.
I thought you said TK. Oh, sometimes, I'm sorry, I was being touchy. Sometimes people call me TK, and I take offense to that. Oh my God, I'm sorry, I heard you completely wrong.
It's okay.
TK.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, in that case...
Okay, I was being touchy about that.
Nah, TKC, I got your name right, man. I know that much. I might screw up a name occasionally over here at No Fucks Given Radio. I'm not going to lie. I've screwed up my fair share of names, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, no, I know my co-host and my current guest at least, right? Yeah, I know the co-host of this show. It's me and Smash Bros. But yeah, man, yo, DK, I know you got something you want to ask him. Don't lie. DKB, I mean, sorry. I got to add that there. I call him DK all the time, TKC, which I know makes it way worse and just makes it to where you think I'm, sorry. That's my fault for shortening his name and just cutting off a letter. Sorry about that, DKB. My bad.
No, it's my fault.
I don't have any questions. I'm just enjoying the story, man.
iPhone. I'm holding a toothpaste in my ear or something like that.
It happens. It happens, man. See, look, now we can do our top 5 with TKC, though. You see that, Racer? I pulled it off. Yeah. Racer's like, I'm going to fucking kill you, Factor. He might. I say, if No Fucks Given Radio ends, it's because Racer murdered me, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know. So please press charges, because that's some bullshit.
Just so you know, I'm over an hour away from him, so I can't murder him. I don't even know where he lives. Don't blame your murders on me.
I have given you my address at some point. I am 90% positive.
No, you haven't. I barely know your phone number. The game gave me shit. I don't want it. I don't.
He's like, I don't want it now. You're fucking accusing me of murdering you.
You just want me to come over there so you can cover up my murder. I don't know how you're going to do it. I'm still working on it.
So wait, are you saying that I'm going to bring you over here and commit suicide so I can blame you for murdering me? That seems really counterproductive on my part.
Weekend at Bernie's, I've seen that movie. You're going to do something like that.
No, man. I don't want you all just sitting here with me in front of the fucking camera and like you see DKB just moving my like and just slamming him down on the table. No, dude, that would be really, really fucking awkward, Racer. Just have you and DKB on either side, moving me around, making me look alive. It'd be funny. It would probably be entertaining. We'd probably get a shitload of views from it, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you that much. You know, everybody out there just wants to watch my corpse get moved around.
Or someone does.
Shame on y'all, for real, that want to see that. That's all I'm saying, man. But hey, man, TKC, this has been a dope interview, dude. I definitely do want to plan to bring you back because there's so much more I'd like to get into with you. But before we end this interview, I think I got to offend TKC a little, guys. I don't want to, but I think I have to. I don't. But we do this versus shit every show, right, gentlemen?
Yep.
Yeah? And every show we've done a versus on. What? Every show we've done a versus on, man. I've honestly the person who had been the had been the person, the creator. I'd pick the person who was associated with the guest. But this particular round, man, it's Van Prilla and Lady Death, and I'm gonna let DKB start because he ain't said shit.
Alright, I still ain't gonna say shit.
Okay, what am I supposed to answer now?
I don't have nothing to tell you.
Okay, the main thing about the Vampirella comics that I wrote right now, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, the main thing about the Vampirella comics I wrote right now, it's a good thing you asked me that right now, because I didn't actually write the series very long, and I'm far better known for my series in Creepy and Eerie or in this era in Creeps magazine than I am for the Vampirella series. But I did steal the Dark Shadows characters, and now there are several websites writing about the secret Dark Shadows Vampirella crossover of 1972, where I conspired with the artist and the editor and everything else, everybody, the publisher, to steal Angelique Lara Parker, to steal her image, and to steal Barnabas Collins' his way of talking, and use that for my version of Dracula. In fact, I used Josette Dupre, Kathleen Lee Scott, I believe portrayed her in my version of Vampirella in her secret identity in 1897, Shadow of Dracula. So Vampirella of Dracula number 3, from 1996 from Harris Comics, that's still on sale on the internet. That's not hard to get, and and that's a big deal now. So yeah, the Vampirella Dark Shadows crossover, yeah, that's news. That's news suddenly. So I've got something to talk about with Vampirella now. Yeah, otherwise I wouldn't.
Now I'm just curious. Do you know the character Lady Death?
Oh yeah. And so, oh my gosh, in the aughts, yeah, there were all these popular bad girl characters that came out. That was one of them. There was another one, SHI. How do you pronounce that? She. I think those were the big three: Vampirella, Lady Death, and She. Yeah. Okay, yeah. But and so the thing is that those things were all the rage in the aughts, and Harris Comics published Vampirella. But you have to understand that I was pretty much forgotten in that era. I mean, yeah, Lady Death and She, that did help to contribute to the whole bad girl motif in comics, the bad girl craze in comics, and that helped to make Vampirella as popular as it is, and that helped to make the ways that I've used Vampirella, it aided and abetted me in that also. My first JFK story about my experiences with MK Ultra and so on, I called Conjurella to rhyme with Vampirella. So the popularity of Vampirella aided me in that. It's aided me in various ways. It's aided me in making my guest appearances at conventions and so on, because at one time it was the only new work that I had out on the stands. There was a period in the mid-'90s when you could go. I mean, you could even get it at the airport, I'm told. You could get Vampirella of Dracula in the colorized version.
Real quick,
of Vampirella published by Harris Comics.
For everyone watching the Facebook live feed, this is Vampirella. Well, I take that back. This isn't Vampirella. This is a picture of a chick doing cosplay of Vampirella, like Vampirella, more than a fucking decade ago when I went to a convention. But just to get the general idea of what her current image is. Well, now I take that back. They've whored her back a bit, haven't they? Or they've taken the whore back a bit, haven't they? And she's got a bit more clothing currently.
I see. The thing is that I don't know. I actually don't, because the thing is that the only Vampirellas that I actually read, with any kind of the only Vampirellas are the ones that I'm in. That's basically it. I don't actually follow the ones like. Actually, last summer, I finally got around to reading some of the Harris comics from the era the same era that they reprinted Mine. And, of course, Mine with, as I say, the philosophical highbrow thing, plus then the Dark Shadows thing, which actually fed right into that, you know. And so then I read some of the Harris Vampirellas, and they turned her into some kind of good detective, you know.
Yeah. So let me just ask
when
you.
Archie Goodwin and I, yeah.
Well, let me just ask you, TKC, because like I said, we do a bit of a bit over here with our verses, man. We got a bracket going, and this bracket's going to end up with a fucking ultimate winner at some point. We got 16 opponents. They're just kind of getting progressively added on per show. But for you, TKC, it was Vampirella versus Lady Death. So do you think Vampirella could win that fight?
Well, gosh, the thing is that I swear to God, the one time I was talking about religion to this kid that had this religious vexation, and he was talking about the power of the devil. And I said, well, the power of the devil, it depends on who's writing the comic, right? You know, that's the way, yeah. That's the powers that you ascribe to the devil. It depends on who writes the comic, what powers you give to the devil. Well, basically, that's true of not just the devil, but any comic book character. I mean, look at Superman. Oh, my God. You know, in the original version that the two guys on welfare did, or their descendants or whatever, all he could do was jump over buildings, you know. And then he got so he could push the sun. You know, he could fly into the sun and go, oh, the sun is like too close or too far away, whatever, that's okay, I'll just push it around. You know, he got so he could do, he was like, Jesus couldn't do that, you know. It's like, oh my God. But Superman said, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I could do it, that's no problem. And when I was in comics in the 70s, and I made the conventions, and I was one of the good old boys for a while, they sort of bring that back. They're not sure if they should or not. They sort of like it and they sort of don't. But anyway, the actual truth is I was one of the good old boys, and when I went in the conventions, that's one of the subjects that came up when I went to the cocktail parties. The fact that Superman was virtually all-powerful, and the DC Comics people didn't like that. They didn't like the fact that the Silver Age Superman was virtually all-powerful. He was so powerful that he could fly into the sun and push it around. You know, that was given as the most extreme example of it. But the thing is that, again, with Superman or Vampirella or She or Lady Death or any of them, you know, it's basically it's the writer that decides how powerful the character is. You know, and what a guy. I was reading here a couple of years ago a hardbound book of Simon and Schuster, and I think it was Simon and Schuster Collections, but they had The Fly, and one of the early stories of The Fly from Archie Comics. Now, of course, I also wrote for Archie Comics, but just for the Red Circle Sorcery title. But this was The Fly, one of the few superheroes, and he in this particular story, a flashlight knocks him out. It's like that's his kryptonite. They dropped that thing immediately, but that was like supposed to be his weakness. But of course it made no sense. Plus, it probably interfered with DC some more or whatever. But he shined a flashlight on him. He went, a flashlight! Oh my God! And he was out. Yeah. So it depends on who writes the comic, you know. And
wait.
And look at you know.
TKC, I feel like you're trying to cop out of the fact that Lady Death would beat the shit out of Vampirella. Come on, Lady Death would hand Vampirella her ass.
I've actually never read.
I would say Vampirella would win.
Oh, really? Oh, well, damn. I guess we got.
I've never read a Lady Death comic, unfortunately. But the thing is that whether or not I have it, whether or not you're right on that, there's no question that those were the top three: Lady Death, She, and Vampirella. And there's no question that all of those things fed into me and into my fame and comeback immensely, you know. But they did so indirectly. They recreated, or I should say they didn't recreate, they created the whole genre of the bad girl. And who within the bad girl genre was, I don't know whether it was the greatest or the first or the best or the least or whatever, you know, maybe the most infiltrated, but that was Vampirella. And within the context of Vampirella, there was one of the guys that it was so mysterious that the name has become eponymous with mystery. They talk about, quote, a certain guy, his name was Bruce Bizarre, but they call him, quote, the T. Casey Brennan of Canada, unquote, you know. So the thing is that my name, and by that they mean that the guy was like totally mysterious and then, in his case, disappeared, you know. In my case, of course, I refused to, but the thing is that my name has become eponymous with that kind of thing. So, you know, that's how it works.
Man, like, real quick though, TKC, like, can I say real quickly, I see why, because I watched a series of interviews that you did with a particular lady. I don't know the lady's name.
I remember. Yeah. It's like, I did all these Fox interviews.
Yeah.
Some of that. It's all these little college Foxes. It's like, but there's like the main one and all that. Yeah, they did all these. Yeah, if it had been like normal, sensible university professors, I'd be in front of the House Assassinations Committee by now. But fortunately enough, it was like silly little stone foxes. But over and over again, they did like written up versions of it too. Yeah, and they go from real silly to very silly, you know, extremely silly, and so on. Yeah, but that's the reason that I didn't go on the witness stand someplace, and I should have. Like, oh my God, yeah, of course I should have. But I guess that's the reason why. You know, they talk about the T. Casey Brennan groupies now. There's a bunch called the Mackenzie Devils.
See, but Nate, no, real quick. What I wanted to say to Casey is I see why she split it up into several different interviews. Because, oh my God, again, you are a man with an abundance of stories, and it honestly amazes me. Like I said, I'd love to bring you back, man, on the Super Nerd-tendo Hour, but holy shit, dude, he's getting late as hell, you know? And my wife is fucking with me, I swear to God. I don't know why, right? But look,
okay, well, we can wind it up then. Come on, my phone probably needs to be recharged anyway. My girlfriend's iPhone probably needs to be put on the charger anyway.
Hey, well, real quick, I want to know. So,
Yeah.
Racer, you said Vampirella would win that battle, Racer.
Yeah.
Why do you say Racer?
I don't.
You don't have an
actually know. The thing is, I don't have an opinion on that because I've actually never read a Lady Death issue. But the thing is that what I do know, the thing is that when you ask me about characters like that, what I understand isn't so much the attributes that the character supposedly has, that the writer or the artist assigns to them, you know, in that particular era of the comic, you know. That isn't what I understand about it. What I understand about it is that the impact that they had on my career. And she and Lady Death both had an extreme impact on my career because they both helped bring back they both helped not bring back, they both helped create the bad girl genre that Vampirella was a part of, you know. And the thing is that it's actually only a small part of what I'm about right now. Vampirella is, you know, well, I guess that was true up till the point that we got to the Dark Shadows thing. But the thing is that at one time that was the only thing they were reprinting. In 1996, that was the only internet to speak of, and no Wikipedia, and no YouTube, and so if you wanted to know who T. Casey Brennan was, you could go to the bookstore to the comic book store, or you could even go to the airport there locally, that's what I hear, and buy Vampirella Dracula #1 from Harris Comics. And that was a big deal. You know, it said T.K.C. Brennan there. In fact, it said Brennan and Gonzalez at the cover, you know. And that was at a time when I was very financially oppressed, you know. So that was a big deal. And yeah, she and Lady Death, they all contributed to that without question, you know. Because the thing is, that's why Harris Comics decided they had to reprint every Vampirella story that they had ever had published. You know, even by the sheet, like myself. You know, everything had to be reprinted.
Yeah, that's dope, man.
Yeah, so back I came. Yeah.
So that's terrible. So the man that's written Vampirella doesn't have an opinion, right? Racer says Vampirella would win, right? I say Lady Death would win. DKB, you know what that makes you, right?
I picked Vampirella already.
Oh, well, wait. Why the fuck do you pick Vampirella? Why do you all pick, like, how the fuck did Vampirella take that bitch?
I like both of them, but I like Vampirella more. So I choose Vampirella.
Fair enough. I guess Vampirella gets to move on. No, TKC, I have to disagree with the other hosts of this show.
There's one in Portuguese. Well, there's one in Portuguese. It's called Zaccarella. Zakarella. Zaccarella. It actually exists. They actually did a series and a magazine in Portuguese called Zaccarella, and they reprint some of my stories from Creepy and Eerie in Zaccarella. I don't know why. I don't know what their association is with Warren, if they even had any. But they do have a Vampirella knockoff called Zaccarella. And I am in some issues, except I don't write Zaccarella. But who's to say? Maybe Zaccarella could beat all of them. Maybe Zaccarella is the one that's real. Maybe that's the deal. Maybe that's the conspiracy there. There's always a conspiracy there in everything. Maybe that's the thing, that Vampirella, she, and Lady Death are all imaginary creations. However,
it's the Mandela effect.
The reason why, the reason why that they're getting away with it, everyone goes like, well, we better sue them. They go, oh, wait a minute, we can't, because Zaccarella is real. So yeah, she could show up in this country. Yeah.
Well, real quick, I just got to say,
she could show up in this country looking for blood. Yeah.
Under protest from the unknown factor, Vampirella moves on in the bracket. That's horseshit. That's just my opinion, though.
Well, it's the thing is that, like, my tools, the tools that I must use, for my survival, I basically throw them down when I'm done with them and move on. Even though I love them dearly in the time that I'm using them, and so it was with Vampirella. So the thing is that, the issues that I wrote, I'm very fond of, and there's the 1897 storyline that, of course, derives, now we know, from Dark Shadows, that I'm very proud of. But as far as following the character and its many, in a sense, imitators, in a sense, not, but I don't anyway, I don't know whether they're imitators or not. They kind of revived the character. Remember, the Vampirella character was originally, by what I've observed with Warren Comics, was supposed to be a female version of Uncle Creepy and Cousin Eerie,
Yeah, she ended up far. She ended up far from that, TKC. Hey, can I just say, TKC, this has been
in the original issues, though, so that's basically what the character was. So, like the first issue, I think there was a satire. It was Forey Ackerman who wrote it, and Tom Sutton drew it, and it was sort of like Little Annie Fanny, and she was far from a heroine. In fact, she murders a whole spaceship or whatever full of NASA astronauts and comes to Earth to kill more people. I mean, that's one of the things she does. She murders a bunch of NASA astronauts and walks away from their crashed spaceship or whatever, or steals it or something. I forget what, but it's okay because it's like Beep Beep the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. It's just funny, and that's the way Vampirella was actually intended. And I was in number 5, and she tells a story called Escape Route. And usually the editor writes those things, the intro. Sometimes I did, but it's where Uncle Creepy or Cousin Eerie or Kane the caretaker in the House of Mystery Stories I wrote, or Vampirella tells the story. I said, this is the story of da-da-da-da, and maybe a couple of puns, and it's this stuff plus da-da-da, this stuff, and this is the title of the story. And then the same thing at the end, well, that story was da-da-da-da, and, that's the end of the story. Well, that's one of the main uses for Vampirella early on. And it was during the Archie Goodwin era that they decided to make Vampirella into a superheroine. And that's when, in the first story, I think she's stumbling along and groggy and so on, and she's taken in by somebody or other. But she's basically good. She's hit with this vampire bloodlust, but she's basically good, and she wants to be a superheroine. So Archie Goodwin is taking her along those lines, and then I took it over, and I want to make it like a highbrow tragedy kind of thing, and maybe a superhero as well. I have some ideas about making her a superheroine, and in that regard, I actually sat in with conferences with Jim Warren in those days, and I suggested that she be given leotards and a code-approved seal. And they start making color comics of Vampirella in those days and go after the code-approved seal and try to put her on the spinners, and give her a costume, give her a real costume. So you'd have the code-approved seal. And that's why I gave her a secret identity. In mine, her secret identity was Ella Normandy. And I called her Normandy because of the World War II connotation. And I even had in mind a Golden Age Vampirella, which of course didn't actually exist in real time. But I think you brought up the Mandela effect, something like that. And so that actually went on to become something that was done quite successfully by a number of companies, where they would attempt to reproduce the look of a Golden Age comic exactly, with the cover and interior and everything. And certainly I would have been interested in a Golden Age Vampirella. That's why I called her Ella Normandy.
TKC,
yeah.
I apologize. I don't mean to interrupt you. This has been a hell of an interview, sir. It truly has. And Racer, fuck that. We ain't getting to top 5 this particular episode. But I'm telling you right now, what we need to do is, because TKC will be in contact, I definitely want to bring you back. We will arrange that somehow, some way, even if it's got to be sometime in August, because how fucking booked we are over here at this goddamn radio. And I'll also make it a point to where we don't suffer the tech issues that we did at the beginning of this show, because we'll be far more refined with this whole video thing we're doing here on Facebook and all that shit, ladies and gentlemen.
I should have a new comic book out in that.
Shit.
And that's perfect.
Hell yeah. So we'll definitely, we will plan for August in that case. TKC, yeah, if you've got a new comic, drop them.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but I mean, they're coming quickly enough, and they're talking about, let me see, there's a book supposed to be coming out, but I don't know if it's an e-book. No, wait, that's not until September. Oh, God.
Well, you know what?
Sure.
I'll tell you what.
Here's the deal. Around the book.
Yeah, here's the deal, T. Casey. You've been a hell of a guest on Supah Nerd-tendo, episode 4, man. This has gone on so many different levels, from conspiracy theory to MK Ultra into the comic books, man, which you had. I mean, that's the history you've had in that. I can only imagine what we can continue to go into. And I assume DKB, Racer, I assume you guys want to continue this conversation at a later point in time, right?
Oh, cool. Good to me.
All right. Fucking A. I just got to get some sleep, y'all, because I've slept like 8 hours in the past 3 days, and I'm not going to lie, it's catching up to me.
My girlfriend's iPhone has to be plugged in, too.
For real. Don't let the iPhone... Though we are known to kill phones over here. No fucks given radio, man. That is definitely true. Yeah, it happens quite a bit. But this has been Supah Nerd-tendo, episode 4, man. For myself, Racer XS Cash, Mistah DKB of the Super Smash Bros. Yeah, make sure to check it out. No fucks given radio. This has been TK Brennan, Supah Nerd-tendo, episode 4. And man, we're the fuck out, because like I got to sleep, and we gonna bring him back. And I've come to the conclusion, T. Casey, you are as bad as I am in the fact that, man, you just like always got something next to say, which is dope. Don't get me wrong, but you know, it's yeah. So we'll definitely bring back TK Brennan on Supah Nerd-tendo. Hell, he might end up on a different fucking show. He might end up on the conspiracy theory show. Who knows? And then he'll fucking hate us if we put him on the conspiracy theory show. But that's besides the point. Yeah. NFGR. Have a good night, y'all.
Okay, see ya.
I love it. We're technically still live on the radio, though. Until right now.
No